Welcome to your first project. Your project title is called Culture. What is it? You're going to find all the information that you need in your social studies course in Schoology. Look for the red folder labeled Culture Project, outline, directions, deadlines, and resources. The first most important link that you have in this folder is the link to the Culture Project overview and deadlines. Please click on that link for the project overview. When you click on that link, this is what will come to be. So let's go over the project description. You have been studying the early Dakota and Ojibwe tribes over the past few weeks. In this time, you have discovered what it means to be Dakota and Ojibwe. The real question is, what does it mean to be you? Where do you fit in this world? We all have one thing in common, and that is we all have culture. Culture is a part of each and every one of us and is about groupness and not just ethnicity. Culture is more than what you can see with your eyes. It is the way you think, behave, respond, and the values you find important. Your job is to determine what makes up your culture. You will come up with a way to represent yourself and your culture. You can do this however you like, as long as you answer the following questions in your representation. The questions we're going to focus on for this project are: what is culture, and how do you see it in your everyday life? How does culture impact or shape your identity? And how do your culture values and norms change over time? The first step is to do the culture kickoff. You're going to find an artifact from home that symbolizes who you are. It may represent your language, your norms. Norms are just your everyday life or beliefs. Just make sure that this artifact truly represents a piece of who you are, or at least who you think you are. At this point, we're not going to do any research. We're just going to tap into what we already know. So we're really just going into that schema, that prior knowledge of what we think culture is and who we really think we are. By representing, that's a tough job too, just to find one artifact that just really you think really symbolizes you. So find that piece, and maybe it's just a piece. Remember, it doesn't have to be everything about you, but it's just a piece of who you are. Then what you'll do, step 2 here, is just to write up a summary. This summary is going to help you to record your Flipgrid in number 3. So you'll present that summary that you just wrote about your artifact and what it represents, and then you'll present that in using this Flipgrid code here. And the most important part is watch what other people post. That's super fun, and it's a great way to learn about each other. Second step or task is completing the need to knows. You're going to create a list of questions that you need to know in order to answer that big driving question of culture. What is it? And you can use this link right here if you would like. And it's just, again, it's just an organizer, or you can just write in your own notebook if you would like as well, and come up with a list of those questions that you need to know in order to answer the big question of culture. What is it? I want you to think about making connections to the other cultures that we've been studying, like the Dakota, the Ojibwe, and the Tlingit. And think about recently when we brainstormed categories to help us understand those cultures. Again, you're going to want to focus on those 3 major questions here. 1, 2, 3. What is culture, and how do you see it in your everyday life? That's going to be that should be one of your need to knows. Here's another second need to know and a third need to know. And you're going to continue on making a list of need to knows that you think will help you answer that big driving question in the end of culture. What is it? Once you're done, you're going to post your need to knows in Schoology in that social studies course. Let me show you again where that is. So right here, the culture need to knows, you'll post here. Let's go back to that outline again and look at what to do after your need to know. So once you have your list of need to knows, you're going to do your research. And your research will require you to actually write in Cornell Notes. So let me just bring us back again to the project outline, and you have your Culture Cornell Notes here. Click on that and you'll have two options here. You'll have the Culture Cornell Notes and then a blank Cornell note. I'm going to just start with the Culture Cornell Notes first. So you're going to notice that on this one, I already filled out and helped you get started. I split apart some really big questions to help us answer this essential question of culture. What is it? So one question is, what is culture? Right? And you're going to put your notes over here. Where do we see culture in our everyday life? How does culture affect our identity? If you don't know what that word identity means, you might want to search over here on the left. You might put, what is identity? Okay, what is a value? What causes values to change over time? Again, your notes go on the right. We've used Cornell Notes a lot together. So your notes go on the right, the questions go on the left. And as you start coming up with other questions that you may think of, reminder that you can also add your thoughts and questions into that blank Cornell note. That looks just like this. You can add other questions here. Once you're done asking those questions, you're going to remember any of those questions that you wrote in your need to knows. You're going to want to put, if I didn't put it on this Culture Cornell Notes, then you're going to want to put those on the blank Cornell Notes for sure. So you'll have to refer back to your need to knows, and this is where your need to know questions go, right here in that blank area. All right, and as you're researching, you might find that you might add more questions as you go. Or as you answer one question, maybe that answers other questions, so you can take off some of those questions on your list as well. All right, so once you have your Cornell pages set up here, I found some great websites just to get you started. Of course, you are always feel free to find your own websites as well, but these two I found very helpful. They're also pretty kid-friendly, and these two videos are very, very informative and also pretty explicit on helping you understand culture. So again, these websites are here to help you, and you're going to use everything that you learned from those websites to put onto your Cornell Notes. Then we get to task number 4. Task number 4, you are going to put it all together, right? You're going to put it all together in some type of project. Now, I left the project really open, so it's up to you how you want to organize your project or put your project together. And I know that that can be difficult sometimes, thinking of a way to come up with a project. So I put a link here just to help you brainstorm some ideas of different ideas that you could use for a project. Of course, you do not have to do any of these ideas. If you have an idea of your own, you are welcome to do that as well. So this is just an example. Look at these, like here's 16 different ways right here of ways that you could go ahead and report out on what you learned about culture. Look at this, there's lots of them, right? Lots of ideas, 72 different ideas to help you put all of your thoughts about culture and who you are and what culture is, different ways that you can show what you know right here, okay? Again, if you don't want to use these ideas, that's totally fine. That is completely up to you, and you can come up with your own creative way. Just remember, though, when you do your project, you're going to want to make sure you're answering that big question of culture, what is it? And within that, you are also thinking about, how is culture, how do you see it in your everyday life? What does culture, or how does culture impact or shape your identity over time? And how do your culture values and norms change over time? I know many of you really have a fear of sharing out in class, and that's okay. What I would like you to do then is before the due date, make sure that you have your project pre-recorded ahead of time. And then you can be ready for big presentation day, and you can just share out that pre-recorded project so that you don't have to share in front of class live. And as always, if you have any other questions, please come see me.